Welcome to Fix It Home Improvement, covering projects that every homeowner should know and great products for home and garden.
Hi, I'm JC, and this is where we share weekly home improvement tips. I'm here with my co-host, Cindy.
Hello, JC.
Hi, Cindy. Today we're going to be talking about generators, and we'd like to thank Javier Sanabria for liking and sharing the podcast. In 1831, Michael Faraday creates an electromagnetic generator.
Am I supposed to know who that is?
Sure. Faraday, the scientist?
No.
So Albert Einstein loved Faraday.
Okay.
He had a picture of Faraday in his office. And if you see pictures of him, he has some really cool sideburns, so you got to look him up. He's like Edison or Tesla.
Well, I've heard of those people. I haven't heard of Faraday.
He was in Europe.
Okay.
So they dig him like we dig Edison. In 1920, Kohler built some of the first generators to provide electricity.
Like the faucet company?
Kohler, K-O-H-L-E-R.
What are they doing with generators?
They created some of the first ones, and they're still some of the top-rated generators you can get today. And in fact,
look at how much I'm learning already.
Admiral Byrd, when he went to the South Pole
in
1929, he took a Kohler generator. There are three main types of generators. You have standby, portable, or inverter. The standby generators are going to be the most expensive, and they need to be installed by a professional, and they're generally run on natural gas or propane. And this is permanently installed outside your house, and it's going to deliver high-quality power to your home. It's going to be safe for electronics, and they're automatically turning on when the main power goes off to your home, and you have this automatic transfer switch that's transferring the power from the city utility lines to the generator.
Okay.
And this is connected to your electrical service panel, and it either can run specific circuits or your whole house. And the key thing is it's preventing power from backfeeding to the utility lines, which could injure or kill utility workers.
How long will they run?
So if you've got a standby generator connected to natural gas, it's going to run.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Well, there's two. There's two. So natural gas is going to run as long as the power's out, because
Okay.
you're just going to be, supplied natural gas.
Uh-huh.
For propane, you can get a tank, like a 57, 120, or a 500 gallon tank.
Okay.
That would stand there, and a lot of homes, depending on your location, have these large propane tanks for the furnaces anyway, and your cooking gas. So in that case, your generator is going to work for days or weeks, and these generators are going to start up within seconds of a power outage. So if you're at work or on vacation, the power goes out, the generator is going to keep all the essential circuits working for your sump pump, your refrigerator, your furnace, security systems, and then it's going to turn off when the power is restored.
That's nice.
With portable generators, they're going to come in a wide range of sizes and electrical output, and when you're picking a portable model, you want to plan on what you're going to be using it for. So they're pretty versatile. Not only can you use it for a power outage for your house, but you can use it for camping, RVs, for job sites. And with these portable generators, they're going to have either 15 or 20 amp receptacles to plug extension cords into, or 20 or 30 amp twist lock connections. And now you can put a long extension cord on this, and this will end with multiple 15 or 20 amp standard receptacles, so you can plug appliances into this or other cords into it. And that twist lock cord at the generator itself is going to prevent it from being pulled out or getting loose from vibration. You can also have 30 or 50 amp receptacles on the control panel, and these are designed to connect to RVs. You can have 12 volt receptacles. There's also 120, 240 volt receptacles, and that's for a cord that's going to go to a transfer switch in your house.
So, none of these receptacles look the same to me on the generator?
Yeah, they don't.
But I think that's a problem. Like, if you had an old generator and you had your old cord,
Right.
if it's the middle of a storm and you go to the hardware store, you pick up a new generator,
Right.
doesn't mean that old cord is going to work with your new generator.
Yeah, you either need to match it up. If you've got a system in your house where you're getting power to all of your essential items, you need to make sure that you're matching up the generator, the panel on it, what receptacles you have to it. Because some of them, like we saw one generator, it only had 2 standard receptacles, and the only other receptacle was one of these 120, 240 volt links that go to a transfer switch. So that's not going to help you out if you are using a 30 amp extension cord going to multiple 15 or 20 amp standard receptacles. So you need to make sure that you're matching, or you're going to have to get new extension cords.
And the store might not have it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Do your shopping early. So if you're running extension cords from your generator into the house, you got to think about the amount of receptacles you need at the end of these cords, how many, the distance, and then what items are you plugging into it. So you probably want your refrigerator, your sump pump, maybe a window air conditioner, a TV, a couple of lamps. And you want these extension cords to be grounded, outdoor rated cords, and then they need to be rated for the amount of amps that you're going to be drawing on this. You need to run it through either a door or a window, and a portable generator needs to be at least 10 feet from doors and windows. 15 feet or further is better. You can't have a generator running in an attached garage or shed or in a carport because that carbon monoxide is going to seep into the house. And carbon monoxide can be deadly in minutes.
Okay.
You want to make sure that if you're using a generator, check your CO detectors, and you should be replacing these once every 7 years.
Okay.
To run your extension cords through a window, there's a product called Cord Door, so C-O-R-D. And this is a corner piece that attaches to a screen window, and it has a pivoting cover, so you can put your cords right through it, which is better than having your window open and your screen off. If you want to pass your cords through doors or walls, a couple top-rated pet doors. Ideal Pet Products has a rough weather pet door, and it's R-U-F-F. Ideal also has a lockable cat door. And then Pet Safe has an extreme weather pet door, and they have a wall entry aluminum pet door. So this is nice. So you can close and lock this, when you're not using it, and then when you have to use the generator, you've got a small access panel that you can put cords through.
Nice.
Rather than running extension cords into your home, you can have a professional install a manual transfer switch inside the house next to your service panel, and then an electrical power inlet box. This is going to be connected on the outside of your home. And then you're going to be using a dedicated power cord from the generator, and that's going to have that 120, 240 volt outlet receptacle on the generator.
Right.
It's
a
going
weird-looking plug.
Right. And it's going to go to the inlet box. So you need to check with your pro first to make sure that you're identifying what cord you need and what generator.
Right.
And then that manual transfer switch inside is going to be connected to specific circuits in the service panel, and you're going to disconnect from the city utility, and that's going to prevent backfeeding. And this is by far the safest and easiest way to use a portable generator for powering circuits in your house. And it's going to let you power items that you can't plug in, like your furnace, a well pump, and an electric water heater.
I didn't think about an electric water heater. That would suck without power.
And it draws a lot, so you're probably going to need a big generator. Portable units are going to be less expensive than standby generators, and the most common fuel is going to be gas, but some generators can be run on diesel or propane. Some units are dual fuel.
And what is that?
So you can either use gas or propane, which makes it very versatile. And I saw a couple that are tri-fuel.
No way.
So there's a kit that converts it from gas to either propane or natural gas.
Wow.
Inverter generators are generally smaller for camping, boating, and RVs, but you can use these for an emergency around the house. And the unique thing about inverter generators is you can connect two together with a parallel kit and get twice as much power.
Wow.
And inverters are going to be quieter, they burn cleaner, and they produce cleaner electric than a standard portable unit.
What does that mean?
So it creates AC, then it converts it to DC, and then it converts it back to very stable AC, so it protects your delicate electronics.
You seem very excited about that.
The key to picking a portable generator is how many watts or kilowatts you're going to be using.
What's the difference?
So most portable generators are going to be rated with how many watts they will produce, and most standby are rated in kilowatts. So 1 kilowatt is 1,000 watts. And the most common standby generators are going to be from 8 to 150 kilowatts. Most portable are going to be from around 2,000 to 17,000 watts. And Champion, they recommend generators over 5,000 watts for a home in an emergency. But the key is knowing exactly how much you're going to be drawing, and there's a few different methods to figure out the size of the generator for a home emergency. And one of the most popular is to add up all the running watts of the items you need to run, so sump pump, ejector pumps, refrigerator, lamps, TVs. You're going to add these all up, and the watts are generally going to be stamped onto the appliances.
What if it's not?
If it's amps, then you're going to multiply the volts times the amps to get the watts. So let's say you have a refrigerator that's 6 amp. You would multiply 120 volts times 6 amps. That's going to give you 720 watts. Once you add up all the running watts, you're going to find the one item that has the highest starting watts, and you're going to add that one amount to the total of the running watts. So the starting watts are the extra watts needed for 2 or 3 seconds to get a motor going on an appliance, and it can be 2 or 3 times higher than the running watts. And most of them aren't going to start at the same time, so that's why they're saying take one. And another method is to add up all the running watts and multiply the total of the running watts by 1.5. So if you don't know, if you can't find out the starting watts of all your appliances...
Because who would do that?
Well, there's lists, and some will have it listed on it. You can go online, but, it might be easier just to take all the running watts, multiply it by 1.5, and that's going to give you a real good feel for the size of the generator you're going to need. Generac says 5,000 to 7,500 watts is the most common size needed for the average home, and some generators are going to have the maximum running and starting watts listed. So, for example, 5,500 running, 6,800 for the starting watts. If you're going to be using a portable generator to a transfer switch to operate circuits in your service panel, it's nice to figure out how many circuits it can control. So if you have a 3,200 watt generator, you take 3,200 divided by 120 volts, it's going to give you 26 amps. So that's one full circuit. If you have a 5,000 watt generator, you're going to have about 41 amps, so that's 2 20 amp circuits. A 10,000 watt generator is going to produce 83 amps. So that can either be 5 15 amp circuits or 4 20 amp circuits.
So when you say circuits, what does that mean? So
one circuit is going to be possibly, controlling your kitchen. One circuit's going to be going to your water heater. One circuit, in that case, it's probably going to be a 30 amp circuit, depending on the age of your home. So you're breaking down how many circuits you're going to need to fire up, and now you can kind of match the watts to how many circuits you want to control.
Okay.
But the key is to add up all the watts. I mean, that's really the main thing, but this kind of just gives you a general guide, too.
I would like to voice my complaint again about I hate that it's amps and volts and kilowatts and watts. I mean, it's stupid.
You want to put your portable generator on a flat, level surface, and if you're in an area that's prone to power outages, you can put down a concrete or paver pad for your unit. And
like in your lawn?
Yeah, and you want to make sure that this is at least 10 to 15 feet away from the house, and you'd want to locate it on a side where you don't, if you have a side of the house where you don't have a lot of doors or windows, and because you want to keep it away from it, and when you're using the generator on that side of the building, you want to keep those doors and windows closed. I saw a report from the National Institute of Standards, and they say that some generators can produce the same carbon monoxide as 100 cars.
Wow.
So, again, potentially dangerous
or
or
loud
deadly.
too, right?
Yeah, and loud. You got to worry about your neighbors. So you want to think about where you're using this. And I saw Briggs & Stratton. They have a 3-inch thick concrete generator pad, and it has holes for eye bolts, so you can run a chain and lock to your generator so no one takes it in the middle of the night. And what's nice about this generator pad, it weighs 189 pounds.
Oh, nice.
So it's not like they can take the whole thing with them. You also want to protect the generator from rain and snow while it's running. There's something called GenTent. It's G-E-N-T-E-N-T, and this is a portable tent for a generator. It has a canopy that sets over the generator with tie-downs. Cabela's has GenDefend, and this looks like a tent with a metal frame and a mat that the generator sets on, and that's tied to the frame so it can't move.
You're not going to spell Cabela's?
Cabela's, C-A-B-E-L-A-S. And then Champion has Storm Shield cover. So this clamps to the generator, and it's going to withstand winds up to 70 miles an hour, plus rain and snow, and it protects the engine and electrical connections.
Because you're not going to leave your generator out there all the time, right?
No, so you're going to store it in the shed or, somewhere.
Are they heavy?
Yeah, some are a couple
Do they
hundred
come
pounds.
with wheels?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a great option. And that's something you should definitely look at because they don't all come with wheels. And a lot of them are around 200 pounds.
Wow.
And
so you need a two-wheeler.
Well, they have kits to connect two wheels to, and then they'll have handles, and they have some that are adjustable handles that are very convenient. So, yeah, that's a big feature that you want to look at. You also want to think about the tank size if you're using gas with a portable unit, and they're going to vary in their fuel efficiency, but in general, you're going to see the run times, and they're rated at half load.
What does that mean?
So if your generator is rated at 3,000 watt output, most of the run times you're seeing is if you're only using 1,500 watts while the generator's on.
That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know why they do it that way, but that's how they do it. So some listings I saw, one 3,000 watt unit running at half load, a 1 gallon tank is going to last 3 hours. I saw a 3,600 watt unit. It had a 4 gallon tank, and that would run 10 hours at a half load. And there was a 6,000 watt unit, had an 8 gallon tank. It would run 13 hours with a half load. But, you know, you're going to vary, so that's one of the key things. I would say the bigger the gas tank, the better.
Yeah, no kidding.
Many pros are suggesting having a minimum of 3 5-gallon gas cans to be ready if you're in a storm-prone area.
Wow, that's a lot.
Add fuel stabilizer to it, and then rotate your fuel once a year. So they're saying just pour it into your car or lawn equipment and then refill these. And for long-term storage in a shed, safety cans are going to be heavy-duty. They have flame arresters, pressure relief. And I like the Type 2 with a flexible spout. That way it's easier to pour in. And then for a lot of fuel, you can get a gas caddy.
Right.
Some of the top-rated safety cans are from Just Right, and it's RITE and Eagle. For safety, you should have a fire extinguisher by the cans, and you'd want a Type B for a gas fire.
By the cans?
Yeah, well, 10 feet away, so by the door, by the entrance, outside the entrance, so that you can put out the fire. And Type B is going to be for a gas fire. Gas models are going to be the most common. It's easy to get gas, but the drawbacks, gas is easy to spill, it's toxic, it's flammable. You should really allow the generator to cool off for 10 minutes or longer before you refill it. That way, if you have a spill, it's not going to catch on fire or catch the vapors on fire. You need to use a fuel stabilizer. You need to rotate your stored fuel. And if there is a storm or an emergency, you're going to have long lines at the gas station. And if the power lines are down, many of these gas stations can't pump gas unless they have their own generator. With propane generators, propane is easy to store, it's long-lasting, it burns clean, and it doesn't have a shelf life like gasoline. So the tank is definitely going to go bad before the gas. In fact, you have to have it requalified every 12 years, the tank itself. And pros are suggesting having 4 or 5 20-gallon tanks for portable generators for an emergency. The drawback with propane is it's not as efficient as gas and at extremely low temperatures. So if you're up north and it's below 0 degrees Fahrenheit and the tank gets half full or less, there's less pressure and it's harder to run the generator.
Interesting.
Some features to look for in portable generators: auto volt regulation, GFCI outlets. Some have removable panels, so you can bring the panel that has the receptacles on it into the house. It's connected with a power cord, so you don't have that outside.
Oh.
There's runtime meters and fuel gauges, low oil shutdown. I would get a large fuel tank if you're going gas. Think about the decibels, so how quiet is this? Inverters are going to be the quietest. Wheels, adjustable handles, and then for quality electric, if you have a lot of electronics that you're going to be running off of this, you want an inverter or a generator with AVR, so that's auto voltage regulation, so that there's not spikes. Electric start is nice, makes it easier to start, although you got to keep that battery charged. Some inverters have a remote start.
Oh, nice.
Which is nice. And then I would look for easy fill tanks if you're using gas. In general, the frame of a portable generator doesn't need a ground wire if you're using it with extension cords. But if you're running this to a power inlet and a transfer switch, you may have to run a grounding rod. So check your manual or ask the professional that installed your switch. You want to keep objects about 5 feet away from the generator when it's running. And one tip from a couple of the pros, they're saying get a good quality LED headlamp. So if you're going out at night and filling and checking your generator, it just makes it easy. And then practice using it a few times before it's needed.
Smart.
Make sure you read your manual for the maintenance routines. Many pros are recommending running a portable unit dry if you don't plan on using it except for emergencies. If you have a battery on it, or if you plan on using it occasionally throughout the year, you want to run it once a month, fill the gas tank 95% full with gas. Make sure there's a stabilizer in your gas, and that's going to protect the engine and the parts from corrosion. And some are going to require an oil change after the first 24 hours at break-in period, and then once every 50 to 60 hours. And in an emergency, you want to make sure that you've stocked up on oil, air filters, spark plugs, fuel filters, spark arrestor, and fuel.
Wow.
Because, if this goes a few days, you want to make sure that it runs. And then always check your oil level before you start this.
Remember way back in the beginning of the podcast where we
Right.
talked about standby generators?
Right.
Because most of this has been portable.
Right.
How do you find like a professional to install one?
So most manufacturers are going to have people that are qualified to put in and install their units because they're trained on their units so that you satisfy the warranties. And Kohler, for example, if you go on their website, you put in your zip code. In fact, when I was just starting to do some of the research, I plugged in our zip code, and like Ritzman Electric came up, Rhea Electric. There's an All Services Electric, so a lot of electricians. They also had a plumbing company that's trained in this. So it says MR Plumbing, almost like Mr. Plumbing. So I called him. I said, "Hey, is it Mr. Plumbing or MR?" And he said it used to be M and R Plumbing, but it did so poor in the search results that they changed it to Mr. Plumbing.
Nice.
And so they get better search results. But it's interesting. So I was speaking with the gentleman there, and he said that the manufacturer wants a professional trained and certified so the unit's installed correctly and safely, and then they know the local requirements too. So to answer your question, I would pick the standby generator, go to that website, and they're going to guide you to someone trained to install it.
Wow, that was long-winded.
Some top-rated standby generators: Generac, Generac, Kohler, Kohler, Briggs & Stratton, Briggs, Stratton, and Champion, Champion. For portable units, Sportsman. So this is made by Buffalo Tools that I've never heard of before, but they were rated very high by a lot of professionals. Honda, Champion, Generac, DeWalt, and Ryobi, Ryobi. For inverters, Sportsman, Honda, Ryobi, Champion, Generac, and Briggs & Stratton.
Do you have anything else to add?
For standby generators, you're going to have to decide if you want a unit that's only going to supply a few circuits or the whole house. And for portable units, the key is planning. What are you going to be using it for? How many watts? The type of receptacles that you have on it. And then you need the cords to match.
And some type of fuel, I would guess.
Right. Propane. You don't need stabilizer.
Let's wrap this up.
You can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, the Spotify mobile app, the Google Play Music app, iHeartRadio, and CastBox.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review.
You can check out our home improvement videos on our YouTube channel, Fix It Home Improvement.
And you can subscribe to that as well.
You can download our books, Home Improvement Solutions, What Every Homeowner Should Know, on Amazon.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star rating and review.
You can email us at fixitpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow Cindy on Twitter at FixItCohost, and she has some great pictures every week.
Thank you for listening.
Talk to you next week.